Artificial intelligence, it's ubiquitous. That's a fancy word for saying it's pretty much everywhere. I have a lot to say about it, but I think you're the person that's more important in this conversation to share with us your thoughts on AI, specifically related to a large majority of our audience who are event planners. So, Greg, what are some of the ways that event planners can use AI tools?
Sure. How much time do we have? An hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 10 hours? Right. There's
um,
obviously many, many
I've
different ways.
scheduled 3 weeks. So, other than bathroom breaks, which we can edit out, we should go ahead and be able to cover that.
Great. So sure enough, the first thing I want to say before we get into any practical applications is there is a lot of hype out there, particularly around generative AI, that it kind of feels a little bit like a miracle machine or sounds a little bit like a miracle machine. And it's almost become pixie dust sprinkled across everything. It is not good for all that ails you. I mean, that is a fact. And generative AI alone is not all of AI. There are plenty of other forms of AI that have been with us for decades that aren't getting as much attention as generative AI is today, that come into play when you start to think about how do you apply these things practically in any kind of business. Having said all of that as a rambly preamble, I can kind of rattle off a number of things that event planners could or should be thinking about, many of which maybe they are, right? So let's kind of break them down into some chunks. So the first thing is the actual planning, putting an event together, right? So there are ways that you can use AI for things like venue selection, for finding and identifying the right kinds of speakers, even potentially for evaluating speakers, whether that's your keynote or whether that's all of the different abstracts and proposals you've gotten for your breakout sessions. Certainly making that job quicker and easier. I would say agenda recommendations and scheduling, using analytics, all the data from your past events, the feedback, the attendance numbers, all of that kind of good stuff to make some decisions about what the next agenda should look like. Trend analysis, look outside your own organization, what's hot in your industry, what's hot among your customers, your customer base, your attendee base, what are competitive conferences doing that you can either learn from or stand apart from. There's all kinds of good stuff like that. You can even automate vendor process, you can automate logistical stuff, and that's just planning. Now you get into promotion, right? And that's where, a lot of the conversation around generative AI naturally goes, right? We can automate the creation of content, whether that's speaker bios, session descriptions, outbound emails, website copy, all that kind of good stuff, artificially generated images, videos, all that stuff to get the word out there. Even things like using chatbots to offload, I guess I would say level one support, all the basic routine repeatable questions that come in about what time is this and where is that, and what's the hotel rate, when's the early bird end, and all of that kind of stuff can all be automated so you can focus your people on the more sophisticated, complicated, complex tasks and stuff. Then there's, of course, the profit stuff. You can do attendance forecasting. You can do things like use beacons to track traffic through your exhibit hall and price your exhibit space accordingly. The stuff that I like most probably comes down to personalization. I'm starting to see some organizers do this kind of stuff where whether you're using a chatbot to do it or you're using other kinds of interfaces, letting people put together their own personalized view of the agenda tells them, where to go when and what to go to next so that each event feels truly personalized. Or you might remember if you were an Olympics viewer or were paying any attention to the way the Olympics, and what's bigger than the Olympics from an event standpoint? But if you were following some of the AI things that were happening around the Olympics, there was an AI Al Michaels. I don't know if you heard about that or if
Yes.
your listeners, right? Where anybody could sign up and express some preferences and interests and get a truly personalized one-to-one video voiced by Al Michaels every single day, catching them up on what happened in the sports they're following or whatever. Imagine, you're probably not going to use Al Michaels, but imagine, let's say, the CEO of your association or the CEO of your organization, if it's a customer conference, doing truly one-to-one personalized recaps for every attendee, right? There's a lot of cool stuff and a lot of really just down to earth, brass tacks, practical stuff.
Yeah.
And it really takes, I think, a, I don't know if it's a mindset shift, but a willingness on the part of the events professional to look beyond the sort of the standard stock, I can do this with ChatGPT application of AI, and think about all the different ways data can help them run a
Yeah.
better, more engaging event.
Yeah. I mean, it's not everything that ails us, right? You use the word pixie dust, and really the generative, the chat GPT, Claude, Perplexity, whatever it is, are just one aspect of it. In fact, artificial intelligence, we type in a search on Google and in the field, it
Yeah.
finishes the word for you. That
Right,
is
right.
some type of artificial intelligence.